Hello guys, Craig from Fix It Fellows. I am back in the garage and I am back with my giant Anthem mountain bike. This bike has been mothballed for over 2 years, fundamentally because I've been finding a way to rebuild this brake lever, which you've seen in other videos, and this can now go back on the bike. But the bike needs a bit of TLC, so we'll get into looking at what else needs to be done. So here we are. Other than being a bit grubby and dusty from just being neglected in the garage all this time, we definitely need to put some air in these tyres, which I'm hoping is just general deflation. I don't think there's any punctures there, so they'll pump up no problem. Need to check out whether the dropper post is still functioning properly. Might need a bit of adjustment, might need a clean. I've actually done a video on stripping this. This is a giant contact switch SL, something like that. There's a video already on my channel looking at that. Might even have to give this shocker a service, and even perhaps we may have to look at giving these Rockshox Reba a bit of a service. But primarily we definitely need to get that brake lever back on here, connected up, brake bled, and the shifters reconnected. Also definitely the chain definitely needs to be taken off. A bit of a clean, cassette needs a clean, so the drive chain just needs a general service. So let's get on with it. Okay, now it's time to put the shifter back on. This is a iSpec B hanger shifter. That's its connection point, and it hangs on the underside of the brake lever onto this point here. And it uses this screw. So let's put the shifter on like so, and let's drop in the screw. There we go, there's the shifter back in place. Okay, now it's time to put the brake hose line back in place. So this is just the stuff that was dismantled when I originally took the brake off, so it'll just go straight back in. Remember to make sure you've got your nut on and your nut cover. So we'll just push the hose in, offer in the securing nut, just give it a little nip, that should suffice. So with the brake lever, gears, shifters all connected back up, the hose connected, we can think about getting some oil in here. So let's take the bleed nipple off, making sure you don't lose the seal. We can put our little bleed reservoir bucket on there, like so. Don't need that for the moment. Okay, get your lever relatively level. Okay, and then we can look to introduce some oil through.
Okay, so we're down here at the brake caliper. You need a 7mm spanner for cracking open the bleed nipple there. I'm using my syringe and the hose pipe there. I'm actually going to suck out all of the oil that's currently in the caliper and in the pipe. As I say, the bike hasn't been ridden for 2 years. Might as well get some new stuff in there. So let's offer over the spanner, put on the syringe and hose, crack open the bleed nipple, and then I'll get this in frame. Let's suck out the oil. There we go. Here it comes. Shut that off again. Dispose of that into the container, an old container. See, I'm going to use a different syringe. That one weren't great. Let's try this one. Let's put that back on there. Crack it open. In there.
Right, okay, this is the oil I use. This is LHM Plus. This is mineral oil. You get it from car parts shops. So here in the UK, I bought this from Halfords. This was £10 for a litre. And look, all of these car brands recommend the use of this in their self-levelling suspension and some in their brake systems. Now, if it's good enough for these big car manufacturers, it's good enough for me and my bike. Okay, so I've got some new oil in my syringe and hose, and we're connecting it up to the bleed nipple, opening up the bleed nipple, and we can start squeezing, slowly squeezing in the new fluid. So it'll go in. You want to make sure you've got as few air bubbles in your syringe as possible, because you're only going to introduce it into your system, and just slowly push it through. So it's going to fill up the caliper first and then work its way up the hose, hopefully emerging out into that bleed bucket up on the brake lever. So let's lock this off and go up and have a look, see what's happening in that bleed bucket. Well, that's good. Oil has come all the way through the system, up the lines and filled the brake lever and up into the bucket. I'm just blipping the lever a little bit to force out any air that might be in the piston part of the brake lever. 1 or 2 little bubbles came through, nothing major. But that brake lever's already got a nice feel to it. It's not going all the way to the bar, and it's got a good bit of resistance. All we need to do now is go back to the caliper and push through a final little bit of oil, and that's all good. So let's crack open that bleed nipple and push through a last little bit of oil up through the lines, just to make sure everything is 100% okay. There we go, push that through. Now we lock that off and we can detach this syringe and put the remains of this oil back into the bottle for future use. Yep, all looking good. Final few little blips of the lever, no more air coming through whatsoever. Brake feels absolutely spot on, all good. Now we can syringe out this oil from here and put it in our discarded waste oil bottle and then remove the bucket. Now just wrap a little bit of tissue around the bottom of the basket here to collect any residual fluid, unscrew it and wipe away any excess. Now to put back that reservoir cap back in, ensuring that the washer is in place. You need to be really careful of this, it's quite a small Allen key, so it's easy to turn the head, but yeah, all good. So I've tried to drop a post and it's a little bit intermittent, so I'm going to have to adjust the cable a little bit. So the adjustment is on the lever here on the handlebar. It's just like a thumb turn screw, so just like on a cable operated brake, you can just take up the tension a bit, and now when I press it, there you go, see it's gone up nicely. So all I need to do now is give the seat post a bit of a clean, so just wipe around the seals, up the post a bit, and then we can take that collar off that's around the bottom and we can do the seal that's hidden inside there. So I'll just get that undone, here we go, off it comes. There we go, off it comes, and it reveals the inner seal. So let's get me wet wipe again and give that a good wipe around. Let's clean the threads and then get in there and clean the seal area. Give it a good old wipe around. Okay, now I'll take a bit of 3-in-1 lubricating oil and just drop that in there around the seal. Get that nicely lubricated up. Wipe away any excess. Let that seat down in there a little bit. Now right, I'm going to push the seat post down. Let's do the lever, push it down. There we go, so let the seats down, and then when I push the lever again, up it comes. It's all working really nice and smoothly. No grinding noise, nothing like that. Final little wipe and we can put that collar back down into place. And finally we just drop a bit of lubricating oil around this top seal, spread it around, and then finally wipe off any excess, and that's it. The dropper post is all good to go.
Right, okay, let's give these front forks, let's give these stanchions a bit of a wipe, get the majority of the dust off of there, around the top of the seals, like that. We'll get down in there with a screwdriver tip wrapped in this. Same on the other side. And then we'll just drop a little bit of oil on those. Let that bed in a bit and then wipe off the excess. So working quite nice and smooth really, and the lockout is working. Right, okay, so let's get this chain off. Luckily I've got a quick connector on here somewhere, if memory serves me. Where has that gone? There it is. One quick connector. So I've got this little bit of bent wire. This will just hold the chain together for me whilst I do this. Put that in there. In there. Okay, let's just get my connectors on there, my pliers. Squeeze that together like so. There comes the link.
And then I can just unthread the chain. Right, now let's get that rear wheel off. Let's take off the quick release. Now we just need to take the cassette off. Right, so let's get the chain whip on the cassette, and it goes, and then we use the lock nut tool with an Allen key to undo that. So a little bit of force and off it comes, and we can take the rest of it off by hand, like so, and then finally take off the couple of loose sprockets, and then the whole cassette comes off like that.
There we go, we've got the chain and some of the loose stuff in there. I shall do this in a minute. And I've got some already used white spirit here. That's good enough for getting the worst of this off. I won't use new clean white spirit until I've got most of the muck off. This will still work perfectly well. Let's pour that in there. Give it a bit of manipulation with some old toothbrushes. really feel that it's loosened up. Now we can give this a bit of a going over. Okay, now this old dirty stuff, I'm going to recant it into this bottle of used white spirit. And you just take the lid off of the milk bottle like this, and then pour it in. And what will happen is that will sit like that for however long, and all the sediment will decant down to the bottom, and then what you're left with is white spirit. Whilst it might be a bit murky, it's still plenty good enough to get the majority of the dirt off of your first wash. Now what we can do is clean this out and then put some clean white spirit in there for our final clean. Here we go, we've got the chain back in there. I've given it a bit of a wipe down as much as possible with the tissue, just gets the worst of it off, and we can put our clean white spirit in now, like that. And we can give it a bit of an agitation. There you go, you can see the remaining dirt is coming off. Right, so here you can go back in there and give it a bit more of a brush should you wish, if you really want to be able to eat your dinner off of it. And you can leave it in there to soak if you want overnight, to loosen up anything that's sort of down deep inside. With these two brushes you can see like I've bent them a bit so you can get in there like that. And let's drop the other bits in as well, just for good measure. And then also get the cassette in there, get another going over. And you can go through this process as many times as you want. You can decant out this dirty white spirit and then go at it again with another batch. It just very much depends on how clean you really want to get it. Okay, so I'm just going to let all that sit in there for a little while. At whatever point you think it's done, you then take it out, use a tissue to get the excess off, and then get a bucket of hot soapy water, washing up liquid, plenty of it in there, hot water, and then put this stuff in there, agitate it around. That'll clean off all of the remaining white spirit. Then a dip into fresh water to get rid of any soap suds, and then just let the stuff dry, and then it's good to go back on the bike. Whilst I've got the rear derailleur all accessible like this, it's a good opportunity to take the jockey wheels out. So just Allen key bolt there and one on the side there, and I'm going to drop this stuff in there as well, give them all a nice clean up as well. Okay, so these jockey wheels have actually got bearings in them, so I'm not going to completely submerge them in that. I'm just going to put them on this bit of cardboard, get these wet with white spirit and just brush off the dirt from around the outside. There we are. Look at those, all nice and clean again. Okay, so finally I'm just giving the half of the derailleur cage a bit of a clean. And the half that's up on the bike, I'm just going to wet this a little bit and give the remaining half of that derailleur cage a wipe over. Whilst you've got your back end kind of dismantled like this, it's always good just to get in there and have a little bit of a wipe over. Some of these places you wouldn't get to otherwise. I mean, it's a mountain bike, you don't need it to be spotlessly clean. You don't want it to look like it's just come out of the showroom, do you? Or do you? I don't know, maybe you do. Anyway, have a little bit of a clean up in those hangers. Maybe a little bit of an oil on any pivot points of the derailleurs. Like there and there. Have a little test of your lockout on your clutch. Make sure that's all working, all good. Wipe the cable a little bit. Yeah. Keep decanting your old white spirit back into a used tub like that. Because there's absolutely nothing stopping that working to take off the worst of your initial clean. Okay, the white spirit don't stop working just because it's got a bit cloudy. Okay, perfectly good enough to do your initial clean. There you go. So there we go, hot soapy water. Let's chuck all our bits in there. All the little bits go in. Probably shouldn't have put the jockey wheels in. Let's fish them out. Okay, let's get them out, because remember they've got bearings in them, haven't they? Let's just give them a wipe over. Okie dokie. All the other bits can go in. And then with the chain, I kind of grab it like this, gather it up in my fist, and I'll give it a good old shake around in there. So get all the hot water through the chain. Like that. Then we'll leave it in there to soak. And then finally, same with the cassette. Agitate it in the water. I mean, if you want, you can get in there with another brush. Like that. And then I'll just let all that soak in there. Then after a while, I'll give it a fresh water bath. Okay, so now we've got a bucket of cold, clean water, and we're going to take out this stuff and just drop it straight in. Make sure you don't leave anything behind. this stuff out and let it dry. Having an old coat hanger, wire coat hanger is always handy for things. Just cut it down, bend it into whatever shape you need, and then you can just hang it anywhere. To let your stuff drip dry. So whilst I'm in the midst of doing this, I better whip off the chainring. It's either Torx heads or Allen key bolts, it varies, and you may need a little tool to secure the back ones. And then I'll soak that in white spirit and get that clean. Boom, and there we go, a nice clean chainring. Oh, and by the way, that's the little tool you need if you want to tighten up them on the back. Okay, it's a double-ended thing depending on the size of those sort of concealed nuts. So there we are, that's all clean, chains all clean and free flexing. Just got to put it all back together. Let's put all the jockey wheel assembly back together. So I've threaded the chain back around. As you can see, got the chain just loose around the bottom bracket there. It's going around the smallest of the sprockets on the back to give you the maximum amount of chain length. Obviously you've got your, you can pull that backwards and forwards to give you a bit of slack on the chain, and I'm just using a bit of bent welding rod, or you can use coat hanger wire, just to hook the two parts of the chain together, so it can just sit there now whilst I'll get me quick links and connect that and that together. There we go, got the quick link in, just need to lock it in place, and so we need our pliers. Now these pliers are for opening the link and these pliers are for closing it. One quick pull. There you go. Right, now just to lube the chain up, because we've still got some very good dry weather here in the UK, I'm going to put some dry lube on, give it a shake, nozzle off, and I'll start applying it link by link here at the jockey wheel. There we go, in a bit. Oh, that sounds lovely. Go up through the gears. Just get that worked in. And then I'm just going to get some of this on a tissue and smear it on the surface plates. Just cycle the chain through, making sure not to get your fingers caught. That just gives a bit of a protective surface on the face plates of the chain. Right, now just to put a new cable end cover on the cable for the seat post Right, there we go. The bike's all back together. All the drivetrain is cleaned. The dropper post is now fully working and clean. The brakes feel good. All that's left to do is take it for a little bit of a ride. Only up and down the street. This ain't a proper ride. Oh, it feels good. The chain is so smooth. So smooth. Really good. Brakes are good. Oh, so good to be back out on this bike. Really, really nice. Oh, it's so good to be back on this bike. Oh, I've forgotten how lovely this bike is. I'm really pleased with that brake lever. The hinge pin's working an absolute treat. If any of you want this hinge pin, there's a link in the description below to my eBay listing for this hinge pin. Keeps your brake running for a bit longer. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please be sure to check out some of my other videos. Give me a thumbs up and I'll see you again very soon.